Welcome to Seat Time, everybody, the off-road show that brings you all the results, news, and online shenanigans that make being online a good time. We'd like to say thank you to Fly Racing for their support of Seat Time. Please go check them out at flyracing.com. And welcome to Seat Time, everybody. Brian Pierce here, your host for this fine Tuesday evening. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We really appreciate it. This is kind of our, let's wrap up a little bit of all the fun stuff that happened at the Tennessee Knockout this past weekend, and then let's start talking a little bit about Endurocross, because our 2016 Endurocross season is about to kick off. For those of you who do not know, this is Seat Time. This is the online show for the off-road enthusiasts where we beer drink and bench race our way through all the off-road news that we can handle to talk about in at least around about 1 hour. We'll see how it works out. But what's going to be fun is on these Tuesday evenings, we have fine sponsors that we would love to thank for what they support us for doing. Of course, one of those guys would be Fly Racing. You can find out more about them at flyracing.com. They did come out with their new 2017 gear. It's pretty damn fantastic. I looked awesome in that kinetic mesh. I do say so myself, even though I didn't finish. We'll get into that. And then, of course, Kenda Tire with their new Ibex tire. I know Kyle Redmond had fun running that bad boy this past weekend, and he's looking forward to running it at the Endurocross. Definitely check out any of your dealers that carry SRT Off-Road. Is a place that you'll be able to get the new Kenda Ibex tire if you're looking for something for your wet, nasty, and gnarly terrain. And then, of course, SRT Off-Road. You can find out more about those guys at SRT Off-Road. It's great because a lot of our local dealers around here carry them, and we much appreciate that because protection for the bike, bitchin' tires. It's pretty much the way you want to roll with it. So before you fall asleep in your crib, Mr. Kyle Redmond, we have to ask, how is your evening going?
It's going pretty good. I don't know if my connection's working too good right now.
That's okay.
But,
if it does turn to shit, we're just going to go to audio only because you're sexy no matter what we get. Even just listening to you talk makes me feel all euphoric.
I can go tell everybody to stop using the internet. Maybe they're just like streaming stuff right now.
They're like on YouTube Kids, just like, oh my God, we have to watch the bubblegum shrimp.
They're watching cartoons, so.
I understand. I have kids, and that is all they do. It's fun to watch and see how it goes down. Well, I can tell that you're getting your dream on right now, and it's very impressive that you've decorated your room so manly. And I say, I think you've done a great job doing it. But, dude, third place this past weekend, I have to say congratulations because that's awesome that you podiumed at the Tennessee Knockout. We've consistently seen you throughout the years kind of progress through the ranks. But I think that now that you're on the beta team, we've seen that consistency jump up even that much faster, which is awesome to see. Yeah. I mean, I could ask you all very minute questions about this weekend, which I definitely plan on doing. But to give us just a high-level recap, how do you think the Tennessee Knockout went for you?
Well, first, I don't know. This video, I don't know if it's frozen, but can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go for it.
All right. You can't? Let me go tell them to turn off the TV. I think they're watching
I can hear
Netflix.
You. I don't know why Steven can't hear you. That's his own technical difficulty. Woohoo, that sounds fun.
Other issues. Hang on,
I don't think he can get it up.
Hey. Can you, Elena, can you turn off the TV? Because the connection's bad. Please. And don't use your phones just for a second. All right, guys, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we love you. That's okay. Can you hear him okay,
right.
Steven, now? Yeah, I think I got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, and so we can hear you cool, so even though we can't get the sexiness that is the Kyle Redmond, we can at least hear you, and that way we're okay with that.
Oh, hey, there I am.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, so, the race went pretty well. It was better than I've ever done there, so I'm pretty happy about that. Still got smoked pretty good by, a couple guys, so can't be too happy with how I rode, but it was good enough for third.
Yeah, so. Good enough for third. That is not how I would have put it. But because I think that's fantastic, like good enough for third. It's like hell yeah, I got third. Like I was so stoked to come around the corner and see you there in third place with those guys because it was Cody Webb who got second at Erzberg this past year, then Wade Young in second, who was definitely in the top 10 at Erzberg, and then of course Kyle Redmond. I was like, heck yeah, you're one of those guys that you're so quiet, your demeanor is so calm. I don't think that a lot of people, I hate to say this, kind of notice you sometimes, like in the sense of like if you're not on the bike. And so the fact that you have such a calm demeanor and you're not somebody who's totally outspoken that for you to be able to perform on the bike like that, to kind of get yourself and your name out in front of more people, I think is absolutely fantastic. The rain this year hadn't played a part in a while. The last time we saw a lot of rain at the Tennessee Knockout was 2014, to 2 years ago. Did that play a big part for you in your racing at the Tennessee Knockout? And talk to us a little about that.
Yeah, I've been around for a while in the extreme aspect of it, and I've pretty much podiumed all the races in America the last few years, except for TKO. So I think that race, to me, the mud is kind of like my nemesis in a way, because I do live in the desert, and I'm pretty good at that, but not great, I guess. I don't get to ride it that often, so it usually rains every time we go there. So this year, I just felt like I was, a little more prepared, and I think it rained a little bit more than it ever has. So I think it kind of helped me out in a way of I kind of just muscled my way to the finish.
Yeah.
So
before we go too far, apparently you have some Antelope Valley off-road supporters in the house in the chat room tonight. So they just wanted to let you know. Is that close to where you live or where you're from?
Yeah, that's where I'm from. I live just outside, 10 minutes away from there. So
nice.
I'm a local AV boy.
I like it, man. Well, it seems is it weird to you that we haven't had much of a 2016 yet? You guys have had a couple races. You've done some of the hare scrambles and things like that on the West Coast as kind of to get the year going. But how has the year for 2016 so far felt for you leading up to kind of like us getting ready to start, Endurocross?
For me, I've done probably 10 races. There's plenty of stuff to stay busy. It's just they're not really out there as far as the coverage goes. Most of them, they're kind of smaller, and it's actually been really fun. Get to hang out with some friends and some other riders that are good friends, and we get to travel around. And we just got back from Montana and Idaho a month ago. That was a really fun week-long trip. Just a bunch of guys riding dirt bikes, and we're up at the Gold Creek Lodge for 4 days, just riding and hanging out at the lake. So those kinds of things are fun. We get out of the heat down here and get to travel up to the Northwest. But as far as sponsors, they want to see us racing the big series and the big races. So kind of sucks for that. It's late in the year and kind of haven't done anything that we can talk to these sponsors about yet. So
yeah, and that's one of the things I think what to your point, some of the bigger series and some of the events that you're going to compete in that potentially gain more coverage. You guys haven't been in those too often. Now you did go compete at Erzberg this past year, and you have done that before, but this is your first time doing it for Beta. How was that experience? We didn't get a chance to talk to you after you went over to Austria to compete at Erzberg.
My experience over there was okay. I've done it so many times, and things just can go wrong so fast. And it's the most stacked field you're ever going to find, I think.
Right.
So you got to be on top of your game, and everything has to go right. And it just went wrong for me. So I wasn't really. I know you wanted me to talk about it, and I just kind of ignored you. So sorry about that.
You're I'm not going to text him back. Friends text, bro. Friends text.
I was kind of mad about it. It just really went bad. I trained really hard for it, and it just, a lot of time, and it all went downhill on the start. I was in 45th or something, so it sucked.
Yeah, and is that talking to Hunter Neuwirth and a couple other guys that have done Erzberg before? It really is about the prologue, so then you can kind of get yourself on the first and potentially second row. And for being 45th, 48th, something like that, did that put you in the second row or third row for the start?
Well, I was on the front row, but
okay, so it's the first 50 in the front row then.
Yeah, but what I mean by that is the first hill climbs, I didn't make 2 of them, so I was way back on the start. I ended up running into the back of of a rider that didn't make the hill, and then I was going up another hill and some rider just veered right, and I just T-boned him and crashed right into him. Had to turn around. Like, it just was my my position off the start line. I was on the front row, but there was a lot going on.
Yeah. And now, did I get it wrong, or is that right that was this your first time doing Erzberg, or had you done it before?
No, I've been there.
Okay.
I've been there I've been there like 5 times. So,
okay.
But I hadn't really been there in a few years, and the race has just gone so much further as far as difficulty goes from the last time I had a real effort there. It was pretty eye-opening, and yeah, it was intense. The race was hard. It was a tough day.
I don't think that that's what's so interesting is, we watch this stuff on TV. Retards like myself get on the internet and comment on some of the videos that are out there because that's always fun. But I think like once you do these kinds of events, like in this case, I go talk about the Tennessee Knockout because that's the only extreme event that I've done. It just gives such a different perspective about how gnarly these things are. And then that's what's even better about the TKO. I wish that I could enjoy Erzberg in that regard, is I get to go do the amateur stuff on Saturday, which is hard, and then I go watch you guys ride something completely gnarlier on Sunday, and you guys have trouble. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's so interesting to see it be put into perspective like that, to watch you guys struggle, but then at the same time conquer at the same time, like all those kinds of things. I think what you did in Erzberg is amazing, and I know that you want to go back and you want to do better. So I believe it was 23rd that you got overall, and it looked like you had made it to double fault. And is that a situation where, as you mentioned, like it was tough from the very beginning, obviously? But is it just do you time out at a certain spot, and that was where you made it to the double fault checkpoint, and then that was kind of where they said, okay, you're done?
So if you like, the race is 4 hours, and that's all you get, and that's as far as I made it in 4 hours.
Okay.
So, and in the past, when I had gotten 5th overall, like, I don't know when it was like 2009 or something. Like, my whole race was an hour and 35 minutes. So that gives you an idea of how much harder it's gotten. Like, I was, and a lot of that was, I was in the back, and I was waiting in a lot of lines, and I was stuck and whatnot. But the course was pretty damn hard. So I always want to do better, always want to get better, and I would like to go back. I just don't think it's going to happen for me probably again.
Yeah.
And it's more just focused on Endurocross. So
and that makes sense. I understand that, and it was awesome for Beta to help you guys out and to get you guys there, and it'd be fantastic if it happens again. But that's probably not something you can count on. Not because of your poor results. I just think that it's one of those situations where, and I say poor result, like fucking 23rd overall at Romania X is horrible, because that's way better than I think a lot of people would expect to do that.
Yeah. Well, but, it's not. It's a big. It's a huge expense going over there. Beta hooked us up, and they did everything for us to go there. So we're really, really happy, and I wanted to do it for them and do good, but it just didn't happen. So on the other hand, it's bad to do that and like waste everybody's time and money. Nobody cares if you're in 23rd. Honestly, like, that's pretty bad. Like,
I texted you, Kyle. I care.
So I don't know.
It's okay.
I mean, I've been there. I've done it. I've been top 10 3 times, I think. So I'm good.
Well,
I've experienced it.
I loved seeing on Instagram. You talked a little bit about it, the Montana trip that you took with Corey and all that, and staying in the Gold Creek Lodge. I loved the Instagram post where you were trying to ride in the snow on the side of the mountain and just totally ate it, and we're laying there and just laughing and giggling. That is right there. Proves that you're somebody that I would want to ride dirt bikes with for fun, because that's it. You have fun, you smile, you giggle, you fall, and you like learn from it, and you goof off. And I think that that's the best way to go play ride. I think there's too many people that take it a little too serious sometimes, and you don't see enough of that, in their Instagram feed, is, being human and giggling about it.
Yeah. No, I know that. I noticed that, and I always like to put, are you still there?
Yeah, here.
Oh, yeah. No, I like to put fails on there as well, because I think it's funny. And, like, you see cool videos all the time, but I guarantee a lot of people tried it like 20 times before they did it. So.
Oh, Yeah. Did you see? I know Steven said he was pulling it up. We'll play it here in a little bit when we get Will Presson on because he's going to want to laugh and giggle about it. But did you see the video we posted of me Sunday night going over the handlebars from my amateur Saturday at the TKO?
I don't think I saw it.
Oh, buddy, it's fantastic. It was just on one of the stupid little slippery, rocky downhills, and the guy in front of me about 20 feet, his front tire wipes out, and he goes over OTB, and then I think I just like locked up because I was like, oh God, I don't want to do that. So what happens? I grab too much front brake and slip out and just gnarly somersault over the bars, and I pop up and yell at him. I'm like, woo! It was stupid.
That's cool.
But it was fun. Yeah, I'm not afraid of posting that stuff because it's funny and we all do it. And it's just great to have it out there, right?
Yeah, that's what dirt bike riding really is. You fall a lot, so.
This is so true. Toughest part about the Tennessee knockout this past weekend for you?
The toughest part? I don't know. I think just my past there really was like, I've done so bad there. I don't know. You know that, like, I've really done bad at that race. Like, I've never actually had a good finish, and I've done it so many times. And it's like it was like the last race on my list of like American extreme enduros. I was like, why haven't I done good here? So like going into the final, I was like kind of worried, and like I know that I knew I could be on the podium. I was like, man, I have to make this happen right now, you know. So like when I was in that position, like the last couple laps, I really screwed up because I was like, I don't know, I just stopped riding. I lost a lot of time there. Like, I started just making huge, like, mental errors, I think.
Right.
So, you know, racing is a mental sport, and it's just, like, kind of, yeah, that race has just been one disappointment after another for me. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I'm so happy to have gotten third. Like, honestly, like, the way I rode in the last two laps, I don't know. It was terrible.
Well, but what do you think what it was about racing the Tennessee Knockout in the past and be different about this year? Because obviously your consistency the entire event, I feel, was better. You finished better in the hot laps, you finished better in the knockouts, and then obviously finishing better in the main where you got third and on the podium. I think that goes to show that your riding consistently it has elevated. And that you say, racing is a mental sport. I would totally agree. I think that there is such a mental block we can give ourselves sometimes. And you've been able to ride past that. You've been able to lift that or any of that kind of stuff. So what do you think it was that kind of felt different or made you, quote unquote, ride that much better?
Well, I think, luck. Like, I've had a lot of bad luck there. Yeah. It hasn't always been, it wasn't really my riding in the past. It was like, one year my bike caught on fire. Another year, I washed the front end out while running second in the final with only a couple laps to go, and I broke my clutch perch off. Like, it was one of those races where I just had bad luck, And I think the terrain is so slippery that you can make mistakes so much faster and so much easier than riding around here, riding in the nice nice dry dirt,
the nice dry desert.
So, like, you can get ahead of yourself and push too hard, and I think I've done that in the past as well. So I just tried to, like, be smoother and, yeah, not fall down. I ran handguards, like full wraparounds. I was like, I'm not breaking the lever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that bit Wade Young. He did the exact same thing. He was. It looked like, now granted, I didn't get a chance to see the exact times, but I did see the race that was happening, and it did look like he was ever so slightly gaining on Cody, and he was 3-4 laps in to the main, and you just heard it. I was standing at the waterfall, and he had come out of the waterfall and was heading back in towards the bridge, across the road up there at the top of the hill, and you just heard thwack, and everybody whoa, and apparently that's when he broke his clutch perch off of his bike. So he had to go back to the pits. They fixed that really quick, and he came back in. Obviously, they did that fast, and he somehow rode his ass off. But to your point, yeah, I mean, that kind of bad luck is strangely part of this sport in this. And you see, like, what happened to Ken Roxon, at the beginning of the year in the motocross, where his fucking the front fork, like, there's whatever parts came off the seal that busted, and he didn't have a front suspension, a front fork. So it's bad luck can happen, right? And it just seems to be that it can happen a little bit worse on some of this extreme stuff because those weird spots where you drop a bike, a rock can easily just get into a spot and just make it all kinds of nasty and gnarly.
Yeah. Also, I think the new team I'm on, it's just we're so much more prepared, and the bike's more prepared. The bike's just awesome, and we have the right parts. And in the past, I've pretty much been a privateer and prep my bike myself. Almost every time. So yeah, some stuff goes wrong when you do that, and you're just you got so much other things going on. You got to drive there. I got to fly there. It was way better. The beta team drove everything out and took care of me. So.
Okay, tell me about that again.
Great.
How amazing is it for someone like yourself to have been, as Steve Mathis calls it, Privateer Allen for so long, to have flown into the TKO?
Well, it's. I feel like I've earned it in a way.
Like, yeah, I'm not going to say you haven't.
There.
Yeah, I feel like you have.
So it's just like, I like it. It's nice. It just makes everything nicer. I don't miss the driving, that's for sure.
Right. Yeah, I did. I missed the driving. And by saying that, I mean not, because holy crap. So Dad and I left, I think 6 p.m. From the Trials Training Center, and got ourselves to the front door of my house at 8:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Unloaded the RV. Well, my crap from the RV really quick. Threw it inside the house. I took a shower, changed clothes, and then I left and went to work and was by work at 8 o'clock. So it was like, that stuff sucks, Yeah. And so. And that sucks on my level, being the amateur retard that I am, right? I can only imagine being the professional rider that you guys are, that you guys need, and then have to go either A, train, or B, ride, or C, sometimes even have to go to a full-time job to then, fund this.
Yeah.
That's got to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think everybody goes through it, though. I think it's part of the sport. You got to, Kurt, Caselli used to always tell me you got to pay your dues in this sport and make it through that period, of being a privateer. And you don't just come onto the scene just with a factory ride. Nobody does. So that's just how it is. Everybody needs to know that, all the kids that are doing it right now. It's just stick with it long enough and things will happen,
Absolutely. No, you're right, man. That's absolutely true. Looking forward to Endurocross this weekend. How excited are you for the season to finally kick off?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've been working on that a lot, riding a lot with Colton. We've been, and Jeff Aaron as well. So it's been fun. We've been training pretty good. So I'm really excited. He's riding really good, and so is Jeff, and we've been having fun. So
that's the way to do it.
Next weekend.
Yeah. Having fun, man. Absolutely. So we haven't been to Atlanta since 2014. And so it's tough. Do you guys notice, do the tracks seem to stay the same for, arenas that you guys hit consistently on a yearly basis?
They all have the dirt, the dirt I remember in Atlanta was really slick. So, there's little things that are similar. The dirt's the same. Some of the logs are the same. The rocks, they usually don't change the rocks out. So, Idaho has weird rocks or lava rocks or something. So, there's certain things that you remember. Vegas has really deserty dirt. Strange. I think it came from out there probably. So, there's little things you remember. But in Atlanta, I just remember it was really slippery. And the matrix was made of normal logs, not telephone poles, which made it really hard. So.
Oh, that's a solid point. So we were there because we were doing the webcast back in 2014, and I remember you guys having a lot of issues during practice and during some of the daytime stuff and actually adjusting the matrix. But one of the comments that I didn't notice, now that you actually bring that up, is that it was traditional logs and not a telephone pole. And so because of that, the logs could have some moisture still in them, allowing them to be way slicker than telephone poles to a degree, right? I mean, that's the idea.
Yeah. The telephone poles are a little bit grippy when they're wet. You know, they're not grippy, but they're compared to bark ripped off of a tree. It's
Yeah.
like ice. So
Yeah, because at that point, I mean, there's still sap, there's still water in the tree, and all that kinds of stuff, and it's just coming to the surface, and so you guys are just slicking off of that. It's not like it's been some kilned piece of lumber. So
yeah.
interesting. That's yeah, I would have never even known on that. Well, besides Endurocross, which is going to be crazy for you guys, we're going to talk a little bit about Endurocross coming up with Will Presson here in a bit. But I mean, you guys have like 3 weeks on, a break, 2 weeks on, a break, and then 2 weeks on, and then I mean, it's pretty intense for you guys to have this in the back half of the season. But it's probably better for everyone in the long run that it's condensed, right? That you're not stretching it from January to December to have a series, and that it's a little bit more in the back half. There's no supercross in the way. There's no motocross in the way. You guys can kind of have all this area and time to yourself. People are just training in the quote-unquote other parts of the industry. So, but as a racer and as a rider, any thoughts about the schedule for the 2016 year?
It doesn't really. I think it's going to be good. I think that usually, breaks just kind of make you get a little stale or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like one weekend after another is going to you're just going to be in that race mode, and it's going to be make it easier in a way,
Right.
So, and then it's quick, it's quick. So it's kind of, at the same time, it's a little scary because, if something happens, you hurt something, then you're missing a lot of races. So I had that happen 2 years ago where there was like 3 weekends in a row, and I got a concussion in the first one, and I missed like 3 rounds, whereas in the past it would have been like, oh, I got a month until the next round. So I'll be fine, but that wasn't the case, and I was really bad in points.
Yeah, so there's it's interesting to hear everybody's perspective on it, and I think in the long run this is probably for the better because it keeps everybody, to your point, it keeps all the racers kind of fresh. It keeps you guys focused, ready to grow. Nobody gets a chance to get too stale, and I think it kind of stays the same way with the fans. We get a chance to kind of to zone in during a certain amount of time frame on the series, opposed to try to go, wait, when was the next event? Oh, it's in like a month or two, and then we forgot about it, and then we might catch the one after that because something reminded us. So I think this will be good for everybody. It's just weird. It's, you know what I mean? It was just like, oh my God, what are they doing? But the more we get a chance to think about it and really kind of pay attention, it's probably going to be better for everybody involved, fans, racers, and promoters, and a lot of fun. So, well, dude, before we let you go, I know you got to get back to your family and all the stuff that's going on in your life besides just moto. Any other things that maybe you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to ask about or just didn't think of or anything like that?
I don't know. Are you not wearing shoes?
Am I not wearing shoes? I'm not wearing shoes.
Can everybody see what I'm seeing right now?
No.
Okay.
I guess Kyle's lucky that I have pants on, huh? Oh, that's hilarious. No one's ever even asked about that before. But yeah, typically like some of the times I'll have like just short, just like I'll have like gym shorts on, but nobody ever notices that, right? Because I kind of like we kind of cut it off like right at the laptop here. And so so I typically shoes no, but that's funny. Are you not wearing shoes? I am not wearing shoes, Kyle Redmond.
All right, well, I guess yeah, that's all. I just wanted to ask that.
Perfect. Well, man, we really appreciate you being you. I love your calm demeanor and the fact that you're just a badass dirt bike rider who's having a great time making a living right now riding dirt bikes. And I'm so happy that you've had so much fun doing it, and the success is just continuing to go. So go into Atlanta, headstrong, confident as shit, and just have a ton of fun riding your motorcycle. What do you think?
Yeah, that's the plan. Just try to do good, make it happen.
We'll win it, man. And just remember, when you're on the podium, you just tell everybody to enjoy a pint full of awesome, okay?
Okay.
and you can thank your sponsors, too. It's fine.
Yeah, after the pint full of awesome, right?
Actually, yeah, that's always first. We just ask that you just give us first disclaimer.
Alrighty, guys. We have fun.
Awesome, dude. Thanks again, and we'll chat with you soon.
All right. See you. Bye.
Peace. Awesome. Well, we're going to get Mr. Will Presson here on the show. And Steven, while we're setting that up, you want to just play the video of me eating the poops? Tell me when it's playing. Because right now I'm just shooting. I just did a somersault. So what did everybody think about my amazing over-the-bars scenario that I had? I think it was pretty awesome. I tried not to do that, but unfortunately I did it anyway. Mr. Will, we can see that we've got you on the show. Did you get a chance to watch the video of me going over the handlebars?
I did see it, yes.
Was it? What did you think?
Well, the funny thing was, in the exact same spot, I was coming down that hill, and a kid that had actually passed me earlier, a 15-year-old that was racing the first race.
Was his last name Tool?
It was. His bike was on top of him there. So I stopped, propped my bike on a tree, and pulled his bike off of him. He was very appreciative. And then he continued to crash about 4 more times, finishing out that hill. So I told him, I said, man, take a break. You're fine. And I went on to finish the lap. I don't think he passed me, but he was about 10 rows behind me, so I'm sure he beat me that round.
Yeah, at that point he was faster than you, just still behind you because you had your head on your shoulders and not in your not on your front brake lever.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, just FYI, we're not getting your video, so if you didn't answer it as a video call and you want us to see how sexy and/or/drunk you look right now, definitely hit the video button.
Well, let's try to do that.
There it is. Totes my goats. Yay!
Cheers.
Cheers to that. I hear you, man. We got our brewskis. So I just wanted everybody to realize that what impressed me about Mr. Will Presson is that he is a dirt bike rider, a father, a full-time worker of life, not a dirt bike, employee of any sense of the terms, but made it into the top 25. And him and his good friend Drew Kirby, they've been out testing and riding and playing around before the TKO. And both of those guys are badasses. They've done really well at the Tennessee Knockout before. But I just thought it was awesome that a guy who likes to ride his dirt bike and weird-ass gnarly shit and just does that, made it to the top 25. There's other guys that are privateers or that are, guys out there that race at a level, I think, way above what Will does on a typical basis. So that's why I thought it was really impressive. And he's the son of a bitch who brought me beer from his local city. That in itself, that gains you as much time on seat time as you want. So before we get into it, though, tell me what was from Sawblade?
Sawworks.
Sawworks, okay. And that was the IPA that you brought us.
Rocky Hop IPA.
Awesome. So if anybody is in the Knoxville area, definitely go check those guys out. The IPA that Will brought and Dad and I drank, and Dad forced down his gullet because he doesn't like IPAs.
Where's Papa Pierce?
Oh, Papa Pierce is at home. I think still sleeping.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had about a 14-hour drive home, and I'm not very good at driving in the evening, through the night like that. And so Dad was like, just go to sleep, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to sleep for a little bit. You wake me up when you need me. And he never did. So I woke up and I was like, dude, it's midnight. I'll drive for a little bit. So I drove till about 2 a.m. And because he was like, oh, okay, I'm better. I'll drive now. I was like, okay, well, wake me up whenever you need me. And it was like 6 a.m. And I was like, we want me to drive? No, it's cool. So I think he's technically actually still sleeping.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, he's kind of a badass that way. But yeah, I try not to take advantage, and I was like, just tell me when, but whatever. So one of the things that we've got a lot to talk about because this was a crazy weekend. You guys did great riders, but at the same time, we got to watch all the other dudes do badass stuff. But you as well were riding the Kenda Ibex tire. Now, I believe you and Drew, maybe it was just Drew, had those beforehand. So you guys have some pretty good experience in those tires. So, kind of tell me a little bit of what you thought of this tire versus the Kenda prototype sticky stuff that we've ridden beforehand.
Well, I was riding I was riding the old Washougal gummy on Saturday, so I was saving my one Ibex for Sunday, and I actually got to ride on Friday a little bit with Graham Jarvis. So I had 15 miles on the Washougal, then did the 2 races on Saturday, and I was getting good traction, but it wasn't phenomenal by any means because the weather was horrible. And then so the hot lap comes around. First hill that looks slick. My buddy Devin, he said he hit this hill with the Ibex on, and he just looped it out. It was getting so much traction. So, the Ibex was awesome. Climbed every hill I wanted to. The first TKO race, the traction was actually improving. And then in the second one, of course, as soon as we started on Sunday, the skies opened up. It was the most gnarly thing I've ever been a part of. And here I am, chasing Mike Brown and Stu Bailey, which I had no chance to catch them until we got to the gnarly stuff. But, it didn't go so well for me, but I had a blast.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, so I had the Ibex tire on, too, and I was running tubeless. And I'm pretty sure that I was running way too much pressure. I was trying to get it in that 8 to 10 pounds, and I just think that was still too much. But what were you running?
Yeah.
Or were you bibbing it, or what were you?
I was running tubeless. I ran 4 pounds. At TKO 1 and 2, and that was the ticket.
Yeah.
4 pounds.
Yeah. Not that I think that it was – believe me, 4 pounds is not why I had so many problems on Saturday. I just think it would have been that much more of a tad bit more nicety of a sucky day. It would have made 1% better, 1% less suck.
I also ran the biggest Kenda triple I could find on the front, and I think that was a good move as well because I felt like I was getting the advantage of that big tire going through the gaps between the rocks. That was in my head anyways. Who knows if that was true or not. So that combined with the Ibex, I think it was a good setup.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because it's like a 90 would be, that much wider than an 80, and that's the idea behind it, And some people like to run those because of that because, it depends on how the ruts are going to develop. And a lot of guys seem to tend to run the 90 more in motocross where 80 seems to be a little bit more for off-road, but because of the rocks, that could be a really solid point. Well,
the 80 is great for national enduros. I feel like you can get through the ruts and actually get through the turns really well. It tracks so good, but you don't really need to track at all at TTC. That slime down there and all those rocks. You're not really you don't care about corner speed.
Yeah. Well, I know what I'm going to try next year. I'm going to try 4 psi and a 90 front tire.
Do it.
And I'm gonna bring the Will Presson juju.
Okay.
Oh my God, Eric Kudla just said he was watching Seat Time while driving. Do we condone that? Is that? It's safer than drinking while driving, right?
Right.
I don't know how much more and or less illegal. Well, I enjoyed the Kenda Ibex tire as well as too. So Kenda is a sponsor of Seat Time. You can check out all the information at kendatire.com, or you can order the Ibex tire at any of the SRT off-road dealers. So like Adventure Moto here in McKinney, Texas, or any of the other online retailers or local dealers that you do have that carry SRT off-road products because of the limited number of Ibex tires. They wanted to make sure that SRT Off-Road, one of their larger teams that they sponsor, had those first as their distributor. So that's how you can find those if you're interested to check them out. You're going to get out there. So the TKO wrap-up. So this is like some of the notes that I took. And these are just mental notes. It's not like I was out there with a notepad kind of writing all this stuff down. So obviously we saw Cody Webb get first, Wade Young in second, Kyle Redmond in third. And some of the bullet points. It rained off and on all weekend, which completely changed the event from last year and to say the least, even from maybe 2 years ago. I think the course in this direction much gnarlier than last year for both, for amateurs on Saturday and for pros on Sunday. I just wanted to say thank you to all the Seat Time fans. I even my father, he had people recognize him one or two times, but he said that it was absolutely insane that how many people talked to him and said that they appreciate what he does on Seat Time. They wish that they could get him to have me curse less, and they love his knowledge. And, well, I'm probably not going to curse any less, but we'll keep making sure that his knowledge shows up because I appreciate that. The Red Bull presence was huge this year. There were more media guys than there were riders. And I don't actually think that that's an understatement. And we'll talk pros on Sunday. Wade Young, that son of a bitch can ride a motorcycle. I think we all knew that, but holy shit. Ben Kelly, that was the top amateur. I mean, dude rode his ass off in one Saturday for sure, making it all the way to Sunday and then getting in the top 4, almost podium in front of Corey Graffunder. I think that that's fantastic. And every time that I took a picture of a guy riding and it was up close, I was trying to just really focus in on the eyes, dudes looked way more smoked this year than I have ever seen them in the past 2 years that I've been to the Tennessee Knockout. So that's and we could talk about any of that. We can add to it. I don't know, Mr. Will Presson. I really don't have an organized way that I want to do this. There's just so much craziness that we could talk about from the weekend. So what are your perspectives?
Let's talk about the uphill swamp on amateur day.
The uphill suck?
that thing, I mean, they added in Englishman's Corner, a different hill, and then the stuff above the uphill swamp on Sunday. And I'm telling you, that was way easier than amateur day, especially the second lap of the first race. That thing just got so gnarly. There were so many people hung up on it. I saw 2 or 3 friends there. That weren't even moving. They were just sitting there, waving me by. It was unbelievable. I had to get help. A course worker had to help me. Thankfully, on Saturday you can get help, but man, I tell you what, that hill was gnarly.
Dude, uphill swamp. That is, and I'll say it. That is where I quit on my second lap. I was like. I forced myself to do a second lap. I was like, I'm not quitting after one lap. That's stupid. But I just had a lot of issues. I wasn't feeling it, blah, blah, blah. So I went back. I got a bite to eat. I snagged some more ibuprofen, and I drank a little bit of my noon tablets in my water. And I was like, fuck it, Brian. You're going out for a second lap. You got to get 2 in. And I was going. I had so much trouble on the back half of 6 Mile Hill that once I got to the uphill swamp, I just was like, I know it's to the left, and to the right is a beer. And I was like, I'm not doing that again. I was like, no, I'm not. I knew it was horrible. And, everybody was like, oh, there was a line to the left. That line to the left only took you halfway up. Even if you missed half of that hill, you still had half of a
the last quarter of it
hill.
Was the bad part.
Yeah, I know. So it was like, oh, great. So I missed the easy part. Okay, cool.
Right.
Oh, my God. But, yeah, uphill swamp was horrible. I've got a couple good pictures of some dudes there on Saturday afternoon. Did you say you guys did or did not run that on Sunday at all?
We did not. We ran through Englishman's Corner, and then we ran the hill, I guess, if you're looking up the mountain, to the left of there. And then you shot up to just above all that funk. And then you got on, there's some more rocks up above there. I mean, it felt like another mile up to the waterfall awesome. Or whatever they call it. So, I mean, there's still some rough stuff above it, but we skipped the nasty part of uphill swamp, which I was thankful for. Englishman's Corner was easy this year compared to uphill swamp.
Really?
And normally that just kills people. So, it was awesome. I'm glad I don't have to ride that again anytime soon.
Yeah, for at least another year.
Right.
And we may, if they're nice to us, we'll get to ride down it next year.
Yeah, we rode down it last year, but then remember there's that easy versus hard hill that you can take the easy way on Saturday, but Sunday they make you go the hard way, and that thing is gnarly as well. But it's shorter. It's just a quick, steep hill.
Right. Uphill swamp. Oh my God! It did make a difference how many rocks you saw fly back from riders' bikes. It
just keep coming.
It's like one rock fell, right, and that just unearthed 3 more.
Right.
No, they literally spawned underneath the bikes. That's what the ibex does. The ibex spawns rocks just to eat them up and chew them out. I don't know. We did have a question in the chat room from KTM4 Life, and he goes, "How does Will train for the TKO?" Well, Will, how do you train for the TKO?
Well, mostly I've got my riding buddies Drew Kirby and Devin Ferguson, and we have a 30-mile training loop at Windrock, which is a 70,000 acre riding area, about 40 minutes from my front door. So we're kind of spoiled. We, within the 70,000 acres, we have approximately 200 miles of single track. So, if anybody wants to come ride some gnarly trail, hit us up. If anybody's interested in just gnarly stuff, that's what we like to do. So come see us. We've got a huge group of the Vol riders over here. It's a great trail building organization. They keep it going. And then there's a couple little rogue groups that have all kinds of hidden, just great stuff you can't find on a map. You have to know somebody. But if you talk to the right people, we'll hook you up. It's awesome.
Dude, yeah, and I know that you were sending a couple pictures and videos over while you and Drew and all your crew were out there riding and things of that nature. But what you guys were posting on Instagram as well, you guys are hitting that stuff up. That's what's awesome is literally the month beforehand, you guys are just, where's the gnarly shit? How can I make myself cry later because I wrote it too much? Because it's not going to be as bad as what's going to be at the TKO. So.
Exactly. The loops that took us, 4 or 5 hours, a couple months ago or 6 months ago, within the last few weeks before the TKO, we were doing them in 2 hours. So we knew we were getting better at it. Drew's going to advance to the second TKO next year, and I'm sure Devin was right behind him. If they hadn't got hung up at the, I guess it was that one steep hill. I can't remember what it was called. The roadbed hill. You know what I'm talking about? Anyways, on Sunday, TKO 1, I got to the roadbed hill and there was a group of 20 people there trying to get up this one hill.
Is this the super slick Moose Hill?
Yes, the quick it's like a 10-story building. It's a quarter pipe. Just up it and go. So I got there and all my buddies were hung up. Drew and Josh Ruckensmith and a couple others. And I was about to go the line where there was a bike in the middle of it, and I was going to use the bike as traction because he wasn't moving.
Nice.
So right as I'm about to go, one of the Japanese riders jumps in front of me. So I'm kind of yelling at him. I'm like, dude, I was about to go. And so he does this to the crowd. And so everybody goes nuts, and he just gasses it and goes a totally different line that no one's taken all day. And he makes it. So I fall right in behind him and did the exact same thing. And I followed him for about the next 5 miles, and finally he got turned around backwards on the trail, and that's when I got by him. Or I think he would have been the 25th qualifier if it had just kept going.
Right. Well, was that when the line to the far right developed? What line was that you guys took for that?
We hit a line that was basically one over from the steepest or the longest one on the left. It was a little bit over to the right. And then I guess that one further right where the rock they were hitting. I think you put a video.
Yep.
That was, dude almost went over the handlebars.
Yeah, that was JoJo. Yep.
Yeah. So we were hitting one in between the two main lines. And, I was looking forward to getting back there because that was a great line.
That's awesome. Yeah, we saw Joe, I think, and granted, it looked like it was definitely one of the ones kind of up the middle. And so it may not be the exact one you're talking about, but JoJo tried that one too. JoJo literally tried the far left line, failed. That somewhere in the middle failed, and this is in the middle when he failed. That was the one where he tumbled backwards, and I was trying to get the camera up and totally missed it. I was so upset. But then when he came over, I was like, I'm not missing it this time. So that's why I got that video of him, and he made it up to that middle spot, and then was able to mosey past.
There were
right.
consequences on that hill for sure.
Oh my gosh, yes, it was insane. Well, that link is to the YouTube chat. Oh, what? Oh. How did you send that to me? From me? I am so confused, Steven. So confused. He's just sent me all kinds of crazy ass shit. This is hurting my brain, man. This is hurting my brain. What did you think about Wade Young being there? And obviously we're upset about Graham Jarvis not getting a chance to ride, but what did you think about Wade Young being there?
Wade Young has the scariest legs I think I've ever seen on a dude.
Did you notice how tight his he had shorts on, but right
yes.
where the shorts ended, there was just tension. Like the
Yeah,
other parts of the short were loose, like above the knee, like but right above the knee where the shorts ended. It was just like the most manliest, naughtiest. I was like, oh my god, what is happening?
Yeah, it was like Dumb and Dumber when they're like, look at the on that girl. Never mind. Yeah, Wade Young. I'm glad he came. I wish he hadn't broke his clutch lever so he could have, or his brake lever, whatever it was, so he could have given Cody a better run. But that dude's fast. There's no question.
Yes. Yes.
I hope it all lines up maybe next year where Johnny Walker and Graham Jarvis and Cody Webb and all the big guys can be there and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I was talking with Wade Young, which so I'm working on the pictures. Unfortunately, I'm just really busy right now, so the photo epic probably won't be done until sometime next week. But I will have audio from some of the riders again within the photo epic, and one of those was from Wade Young, and so it was kind of one of those things where Sherco reached out to him, and Sherco is based in France, to see if he wanted to do the event, and they're the ones that got him there, and brought his mechanic over from France, and then of course Clay Stuckey being the North America distributor. That's how they all kind of got together. But it's interesting. I wonder when Red Bull takes over next year. Johnny Walker's a Red Bull athlete, Wade Young's a Red Bull athlete, obviously Cody Webb is now. So I'm wondering, does that kind of Red Bull money then almost solidify the fact that guys like Wade Young and Johnny Walker will be back, obviously no injuries and no illnesses kind of a situation.
Right.
I would think so, but who knows?
I hope so.
It's so expensive, but at the same time, yeah.
What else are they doing? Come on.
Yeah, not riding their dirt bike, bastards.
Right.
And it's interesting talking to Wade Young about it too. I asked him about the format. I was like, what do you think? Is it different? Because it's so different from any of the other style of extreme enduros that they compete in. And he didn't dislike it. Now, granted, this was before the final, so if I'd have caught him after that, he probably would have been pissed off about it because he was like, why couldn't it be done over sooner? But, he did comment about how the day wears on you.
Right.
It's one of those things where, because even though in the long run, the amount of riding that you're doing is not that much. It's the fact that you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, and your day is 6 to 8 hours long with these like weird sprints. So you have to really manage your body well throughout the day, opposed to just ride consistently throughout the day, because you're going so much faster in the very beginning and the very end of the day than you do in the middle of the day.
Right.
So it's interesting. It is interesting.
He should have tried riding Saturday too then.
That son of a bitch. I'm sure they would have let him. I'm sure they would have let him. So we got the Enduro. So what else? What else stands out to you about the TKO from this past weekend? Anything else? You could say yes. You could say no. You can say the beer drinking on Saturday night.
I mean, just the weather was brutal. It seemed like every time I would, as soon as I started my hot lap, I think it started raining. As soon as I started the TKO 2 on Sunday, it started raining. It rained I think it rained all Friday night. I mean, like literally 100% of the dark hours on Friday, it was raining. And in the middle of the night, my wife gets up and she's like, "We have a leak in the RV." So I'm looking around, shining the flashlight on the ceiling everywhere. The carpet's soaking wet. I'm like, there's no leak on the ceiling. And finally I look into the sink and we have a busted pipe in a rainstorm. So go figure. But no, the weekend was awesome. Just the amount of friends that showed support and helped me out was great. And just the guys, they're getting better and better. I don't know if anybody can stop Cody Webb there. He's got that place memorized. He's awesome.
Yeah. If there was one thing that you could see change for the better, now the formats. Like I think that they wouldn't do too much to that, but like if there's like some major additions, some awesome overhauls that you could see with that Red Bull money, what would that be, or what do you think it could be?
Well, if it could be broadcast live like Erzberg, and they really, pump up the media some, because, leading up to this year's event, I didn't feel like the media was anywhere. I mean, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Nashville, I mean, those are pretty decent-sized markets, and they could, they have a great outdoor community, so why can't we bring in some people that aren't involved with dirt biking but are interested in, off-road type events and I mean, these guys are true athletes. They're professional athletes. So why can't we get a little bit more media exposure for these guys? The pros, especially, that are coming from all over the world to do this thing. I mean, I don't see why not.
I know. And we tried to do that doing the preview show, but to your point, like, we're not anything, I mean, like, we're such a small drop in such a larger bucket. That does kind of like question a lot of things. Like, it seems like a couple press releases shot out, to Nashville, to Chattanooga, to Knoxville, to all the press,
Atlanta,
to all those kind of news sources. You'd think one or two of them would be like, that could be interesting. Let's go figure out more about this, start to talk to the promoters, and then be able to start to find videos that people like us have put out before and be able to run those on their channels and to start pump up kind of like locally.
Especially if Red Bull's pushing it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is I wonder because of the fact that Red Bull showed up last year and showed some interest, and now they're showing more interest, and then obviously this interest they've shown this year is really to see financially, is it worth it to be there live, right? Like to put it and be part of the signature series.
Right.
And I wonder if at some point somebody goes, you know what? Red Bull's already looking at us. We're in. Like, do we care? I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm just wondering if it's already kind of like, we make money, right? We make whatever we need to make, whatever that is, whatever that number is you need to hit. We make that. People show up. So then we make more than that. We'll always have a waiting list. We let in extra riders. At that point, they're kind of like, is there more effort that needs to be done to grow it even more? So it's an interesting question. I think as a promoter, you kind of would want to get as many people in the gate as possible, but I don't.
Yeah, they have more room. There's room for people. I mean, they have plenty of parking. They have plenty of room for vendors. Let's get some music in there. Let's get some beer tents and better food and pump it up a little bit. I think it could be awesome.
That is an interesting point. Oh God, a beer tent. Holy shit! Why isn't there a beer tent?
Right.
I think Seat Time next year needs to have a thing. I think what we need to do is we need to take over one of the gnarly obstacles and have a 21 up area. Like,
nice.
On that obstacle, that is like that. What is it when you haggle somebody? Like haggle rock. You know what I mean? Like that is just where you go to be drunk, have fun at the TKO, and just turn into a shithead.
And if you've been eliminated, you get a free drink. Come on over.
I think you just get a free pass. Like you're just like it's like
oh, yeah,
I hope you have a driver because you're not going to be able to drive.
Bring your cup, fill it up.
Okay, there it is. I like this. So, anybody that here we go. So we're gonna have coded cups, right? So anybody that is over 21 and races on amateur day gets a solo cup, a red solo cup with their entry, right? And then anybody that makes it into the afternoon race gets a blue solo cup. And so the more cups you get have a certain amount of drink numbers that you can have attached to it. So you get like a Sharpie mark on it or whatever. And so, like, if you, like in your case, you made it to Sunday, so now you get a yellow cup. And then you make it past that, you get a purple cup. Like, and so the further you make it, and then all of a sudden you just finally get, like, the Infinity Cup, the Gauntlet Cup. Ooh, this is getting good. And then we can create this massive haggle rock, and hopefully Uber in a year we'll be able to drive people home from the Tennessee Knockout.
Back to Texas.
Yeah. We'll have to be like, that's cool. You could stay here, but you have to give us your keys. We will not let you leave till what is it? Till like 1 a.m. on Monday morning.
Well, our plan up until about a week before, when we saw how bad the weather was going to be, was to actually buy one of those inflatable pools from Walmart and have it in between all of our RVs. We had the little horseshoe of RVs going in our campsite.
I know. We were part of that.
Get like a couple 1,000-gallon inflatable pool, and then after you finish riding, you can, throw in some board shorts. You take off your gear, throw in some board shorts, and sit in there and cool off. But with the rain, we decided that was a bad idea this year. So next year, we're going to get a commercial like circus tent to go in between all the RVs. We'll have the pool. Hopefully, somebody will bring kegs. It'll be great.
Well, I did somehow throughout all of my small little beer promotions and beer videos, I did get an entire 50-person party barge sponsored by a beer company.
There you go.
So that is a step in somewhat of the right direction. The problem is I can't be the guy that drives from Texas with like 4 kegs because I'm going to get there and they won't be drinkable for like 4 days because they're going to be shook up
Right.
because it's like, because my dad's going to drive some of that and he's like, gas brake, gas brake, gas brake, gas brake. And you know, we all know what that does to beer.
Yeah.
So, man, this could be something though. I just don't know. Oh yeah. Oh god damn, this is exciting. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Endurocross, and then we'll let you go because you've got life, I've got life, and shit's just weird. So, Cody Webb won last year. Fantastic job. But Tadej Blazuzak is coming back, and I think Tadej Blazuzak is coming back hungry. We found out from Taylor Robert last week. If you didn't watch the show, go back and check that. He talks about how they used Europe money to bring Taylor Robert to Europe to race the Enduro GPs over there, and then they use USA money to bring Tadej Blazuzak over here to do Endurocross. So now we kind of know and have an idea what's going on there. So that's interesting that that's the swap that they did, but I guess that's kind of what it is and how you have to make it work. But Taddy's back, dude. I think that's big. Like, I really do think that he is going to bring a lot of competition for when he wasn't injured and he was racing super enduros this past year while Cody and Colton were fighting for the championship. He was in the mix of that, you know?
So is Taylor Robert running Endurocross?
So he wasn't going to be doing that because of the fact that they didn't have factory money for that. Like, so he was going to be doing the one that was in Arizona. I just don't know now. It was at Scottsdale, I believe. Scottsdale, September 24th. Because of his finger that he fractured and why he wasn't at the TKO this past weekend, I don't know if that means how healed up he's going to be by then, if he's going to be able to do that event or not.
Yeah, next weekend.
Yeah.
I think Taddy, I think Colton's a force to be reckoned with now. I mean, that he won Super Enduro. He's got to have a ton of confidence. Beating Cody Webb on the last lap there in whatever country that was in. But I think those three guys, they got to be the favorites, right?
Dude, yeah, I mean, let me look at, because so with Taddy being back, Cody Webb, and Colton Haker, I really do think, yes, I would agree. Those are the favorites. And, you know, it's just crazy. Let's bring this up. I had this up, and I forgot Endurocross.com. What I want to look at is the results, because I was trying to think about how many times those guys went back and forth with first and second place, and I believe that Colton Haker and Cody Webb went back and forth a pretty good amount of times. Points. I'm almost there. I swear it's happening. Okay, yeah, so they were 11 points different. So Cody Webb had 215 and Colton Haker had 204 last year. And they did do a lot of swapping of like first, second, first, third, kind of thing. So we could easily see a lot of that. And I would say we saw a lot of that the last time that Tadej Blazuzak 2014 when he was in the States, when Cody Webb won the Endurocross again on the beta. So, yeah. Holy crap. Yeah, it's going to be crazy, man. And then Mike Brown. I mean, Mike Brown was third last year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I texted him to see how he's feeling because, there was some chatter that he took a hit to the chest.
Handlebar.
Yeah, and he just wasn't feeling too good about that. But I didn't hear back from him, unfortunately.
I was watching him when he pulled off, and I was shocked. It looked like he just made 2 attempts at that hill right there next to the bridge, and he pulled off. But found out later he took a handlebar to the sternum or whatever, and probably in my day as well.
Yeah, like dude. So we got Mike Brown as a contender, and then obviously, not to say that these guys couldn't win, but it's just like we just, there's kind of the guys that you're up echelon, and then you kind of guys that are going to fight for those kind of 4th through 10th spots. We got Corey Griffunder, Max Gersten, Kyle Redmond, Ty Tremaine, Jeff Aaron, and Destry Abbott. Now, those guys kind of in that order. We did leave out Taylor Robert, knowing that he's not going to be in the season. Those are the guys that finished, 4th through 10th last year in the Endurocross season. So those are guys that are going to be up there. Obviously, Destry Abbott right now having to deal with leukemia. I checked in with him as well. He says it's ebbing and flowing. Like, he's got really good days and he's got really bad days. And he says he's had a couple more bad days than he'd like to have recently. But he's fighting through it. Luckily he's back in Arizona. He's not in Tennessee anymore right now, or I'm sorry, Texas. We were in Tennessee. He's not in Texas anymore. He said, if nothing else, it just feels a lot better to be seeing a doctor in his home state, being that much closer to family there, which I can only imagine. So, what are your thoughts on Kyle Redmond though? I really feel like since he's been on the beta team this year, especially obviously with this being the first year on the beta team, that his confidence seems to be that much better, and he seems to be riding a ton better.
He's got to get a boost from getting on the podium at the TKO as well. I mean, he's been around for a while. I mean, like he said earlier, I guess he's been to Erzberg 5 times. I had no idea he'd been around since whatever, '08. He said he got a top 5 over there. So he's got the experience. He looks to be getting the speed. So if he can put it together, I bet he'll get some podiums this year.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that he could make some podiums this year. I think that that's easy for him to do. Man, it would be... He's talking about the bad luck aspect of that, and that's always a weird question for me because I think about the Endurocross and I think about how gnarly it is, and you just see, like, think back to X Games last year. Like, if you, like Cody Webb was winning X Games, stupid small mistake, didn't get up going that fast, and wound up, losing a 30-second lead that he had going. These events, they're so technical that some small little weird slip-up like that could allow you to have such a huge mistake. And so do we think that we're going to continue to see that, I guess, in Endurocross? And I think the answer is yes, just because that's kind of the nature of it. Like, it's that much more gnarly in that weird kind of technical way.
Yeah, anytime you have close racing like that, I mean, any little hiccup is going to get you. So I hope it's close. I hope nobody just runs away with it. Like I guess Taddy was doing there for years in the U.S., and then, what, has Cody won it the last couple of years?
Yeah, the past 2 years. So 2014 on beta, and then got it again on the RPM team. But him and Colton were really going for it. Just a lot like the back half of a Super Enduro. And but he did get it on his last year on the RPM, or his only year on the RPM team as well. So a couple outliers. Mitch Karveloff, he's been on the show a couple times. I think the dude's a great dude. I think he's a guy that could get into... If he really had an amazing ride, could get into the top 5 and be close to a podium. It would be awesome to see him there. Nick Thompson, Mike Tosh, and a couple other guys have talked about him a lot. And he's one of those guys. He's like a Wally Palmer. Like, he likes to jump, and so that aspect of how kind of badass he is could get him into trouble. But without that, if he could stay healthy and stop getting injured for a little bit, that he could be a top 5 guy for sure. And then Cooper Abbott. I think that being on the Husky team, having a little bit more of a off-road backed team opposed to being on the Kawasaki's with his dad, and not that his dad obviously doesn't know what he's doing on a motorcycle when it comes to being off-road. I just think that having a little bit more kind of Endurocross specific style backing like that, and maybe give him a chance to get out of his dad's shadow. Again, not in a bad way. His dad's a badass, but just instead of being, Destry and Cooper, it's not going to be Destry and Cooper. They're going to be next to each other opposed to dad and son.
Cooper's a good Instagram follow, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he put some cool videos on there.
I like that. I know that we follow him, but I think maybe now in the new algorithm, we don't we
Right.
kind of get a little lost in all that stuff. So we'll have to make sure that we like more of his shit so it shows up more often. Well, what's next for the impressive father amateur racer of Mr. Will Presson?
Well, I have some engineering exams to do tomorrow, a bunch of reports to write to get caught up. Tennessee football is coming up. It's still boating season. But the next race I'm doing is, I think I'm going to the Battle of the Goats over in North Carolina.
Is that the Brushy Park?
Yeah, Brushy Mountain. And the interesting thing about that place is that's right where most of those GNCC guys are from. So a lot of the top, Caleb Russell, yada, 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 the Hawkins compound, all those guys are just right there. So I was talking to Ted, who was actually on my row, who was managing, or he was the promoter for that race. And he was telling me they were having a whole lot of interest from those guys. And I guess the format is going to be, it's a 5-hour race, just one race, 35-mile loop, go get them. So every 35 miles you can refuel, get a snack, and then head back out. And he said they were going to have something like 12 skill sections in the 35 miles. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how extreme that race is. But from a 5-hour standpoint, I mean, that's going to be a serious endurance race.
Yeah, for sure.
More than anything.
So here we go. I found their little Eventbrite. So looks like it's about $60 to get yourself a spot. This is an extreme enduro with the emphasis on testing a rider's skills and endurance. The race has a 5-hour time limit with no resets or stops. You will be able to refuel if you need, but your bike should be able to complete a 60-mile of challenging terrain. The course will include 8 challenge sections and a large amount of single-track trail. Skill level is mid-level intermediate trail. Terrain is difficult in some areas. It should be in quotes. Final course layout may require a mid-lap fueling location. This will be identified in the weeks prior to the race. So, yes, it does sound challenging. Township of Taylorsville. That's a city.
There you go. Yeah, there's probably a couple hundred people.
Did they all have teeth?
I'm sure. Yeah.
We can only hope.
I can't say much. I'm from Tennessee.
Yeah, look at you. You're so cute. You're so cute, buddy. Knoxville, Asheville. So okay, North Carolina. Okay, I'm seeing how this works now. Yeah, you guys there in Knoxville. Yeah, you guys are stupid close.
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go to that. Did you already get a spot?
Yeah, I think I thought I was gonna fill up really quick, and I think that like me and 3 of my friends or 2 of my friends signed up, and we looked at the sign up a couple days later, and I think we were the only 3 signed up for a while. But hopefully it's getting a little more full now.
Yeah, after the TKO, I saw those guys out there talking about it, and they had their shirts on and everything like that. So if you guys are in the area, make sure you go check it out. It looks like the date is October 8th.
Yep.
I want to say that's what it looked like. Yep. And it's from 9 to 3. So that's good, too, because it's not a full weekend thing. So you could kind of, go out there Friday night, park it, and then you could party Saturday night and then leave, go home Sunday. That's what I'm talking about.
We'll see.
That's
hopefully.
what I'm talking about. Yeah, party if the bike is not ruined. Party if the bike is not ruined. Well, cool. Well, dude, we really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show, being such a badass out there. Obviously, I really appreciate the beer. Hell of a great jester. If anybody ever wants to get on my extra good side, bring some local beer from out of state, because hell yeah, that's the way to do it. That's just awesome in itself. I got a chance. Art Pepin gave me a sip of sunshine, which is fantastic. There's no way I'm going to get something like that from way down here in Texas. He's in the Northeast, and it's just easy for him to get. It's still one of those beers that people fight for. So I really appreciate that. Any last words of wisdom for all the Tennessee knockout soon-to-bes?
Just ride the rough stuff. If you hate riding something, that's what you need to start riding, because that'll only make you better. I know my new goal now will be to make the finals. So I wanted to make top 25. So now we got to make top 15. And, I guess anything can happen if you make the top 25.
Yeah. New goals, new life. I like it.
Yeah. I'm going to be 40 here in a couple years. So I'm going to try to do that before I turn 40. That's my thing.
I like it. Well, I'm 37. So I got
me too.
I got 3 more years to be 40. And I'm going to try to not be such a bitch on Saturday at the TKO before I'm 40.
Yeah, you can do it.
New goals. I like it. Well, hell yeah, Mr. Will Presson. Thanks for drinking beer with me on the internet and talking dirt bikes with us. And we'll definitely be in touch, and we really appreciate the time.
All right, thanks, Brian.
Absolutely. Peace.
See you, man.
Awesome. Well, hell yeah, guys. For those of you that have been paying attention, we really, really appreciate it. This has been episode 217. Of course, I am your host, Brian Pierce. You can find me on the internet at Woody B. Pierce, pretty much on everything, if you want to follow some of the random weird shit that I put up with. We will be live again next week. We do know that there's going to be a little bit of a break coming into Unadilla and all that stuff with GNCC coming. So we're going to be getting ready for some Endurocross. And Atlanta is happening. We did do a webcast there in 2014. If you guys want to see anything else like that, you got to reach out to Endurocross and tell them we want Seat Time to do another webcast, because we can't afford to do it on our own, but they can afford to pay us. We know that much. So if you guys want that, please reach out there and let them know, and that would be a great way for it to happen. Of course, we have amazing sponsors. You can check out Fly Racing at flyracing.com, Kenda Tire at kendatire.com, and SRT Offroad at srtoffroad.com. All of those are available at your local dealer or your online retailer of choice. So just check any of those guys out. Remember, you do want to get the 2017 Fly Racing gear and the Kenda Ibex if you're doing any kind of gnarly terrain riding. The Equilibrium is very good as well for kind of that medium to really, really gnarly terrain. the Ibex will be your tire of choice for sure moving forward if you want to do any kind of endurocross or extreme enduro kind of stuff, or just gnarly stuff in general. Oh, and of course, I got a yawn here at the end. But remember to go. We've always, you guys can find us on Stitcher and iTunes if you just want a little bit of audio only. And I think that's good times. The chat room, you guys can hit us up, tok.io/seattime when we come back next week. Remember that is there. We appreciate you guys being on there. And yeah, we'll see you in a week. Remember, I always enjoy Pint Full of Awesome. Peace. I just did a somersault.